We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Good morning, brother. Happy Sunday. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a crazy weekend, man. I had seen all my family yesterday. We had a memorial service for my grandma who passed away last month, and I got to
I'm
see
sorry,
like
bro.
extended family and stuff like that. No, it was good, man. It was touching. It was really sad, but we all were able to mourn together finally, and it puts a lot of stuff in perspective and stuff,
Right.
and
Right.
I mean, it was cool to see family. We got to share like memories and stuff like that. And what she said. A couple of people had voicemail, and it was really cool to hear her voice at that point too. It was really interesting. But how was your weekend, man?
Dude, it was good. Our roommate Dustin is really into soccer, and I've never been into soccer, but
Mm-hmm.
the Euro Cup is going on this weekend, so I've been watching a lot of soccer, which
Oh
is really
yeah,
entertaining. Basketball, the Phoenix Suns are killing it, which is great. Even though I live in LA, I'll always be a Arizona kid, so it's nice to see the Suns do well. We're up right now 3-1. I don't want to jinx it. Um, but yeah, man, in our web series, I don't know if you can see it back here. I've got my jack-o'-lantern up
I do
because it's
see
almost
that.
Halloween season in my house. The new trailer for Halloween Kills dropped. I think it was on Friday, which is interesting. I can't wait to talk to you about that and then go into it because I'm a huge Halloween nut, as everybody knows.
Yeah, you are.
Um, but yeah, man, it's been a entertainment weekend, to be honest with you. So
Sure
yeah,
thing.
it's been all right.
Yeah, Travis and I went and saw Fast 9 on Thursday night, and it was an interesting ride. So we're gonna definitely dive right into that as well today too. Most people know this about me. Fast and the Furious has always been really close to my heart, especially this guy, Paul Walker, and you know it's a very interesting franchise where it started, where it began and everything, and where it's at today too, especially with the newest movie. So let's jump right into it and introduce our guest. David Harris is on the phone with us right now as well. What's up, David?
What up? What up?
Good
How's it going,
afternoon,
boys?
man. Good, good.
Glad
We're,
to finally be on one of these with you guys. I
I
wish it
know.
was a better movie to be discussing.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, we'll do a Quiet Place once Chris gets to see it out in L.A. that will be
Yeah,
that'll
I
be the
know,
one.
right?
I know you like aliens, and
I
coincidentally,
do.
David, we did have a little bit of space exploration to my chagrin on this movie, so you got a little bit there.
Good.
I love that, David. Thank you. I saw that part of it show up on a clip. I think it was during the basketball game or something, where Tyrese and Ludacris end up in space.
Yeah.
You guys got to tell me because it's going to be probably a while because it's like theater of the ridiculous in my opinion now. But I don't want to put the spoiler out there. But I'm interested to hear you two
It's
talk
been.
about
I'm
it.
trying not to spoil anything for you, but at this point, why bother?
Feel free. The spoiler flag is up. Fire away, guys. I'm not going to be upset if you tell me something that I probably
So
won't
you
even
mentioned
see.
something. During NBA playoffs, there's always some kind of summer blockbuster that's
Yeah.
coming out, and it's usually an action film, and they always over dramatize it for the commercial itself,
Yeah.
and they connect it with the NBA. That's actually what I was praying it was, because mind you, I was not excited to see this movie, and we'll get into that a little bit later when the opportunity presents itself. But I was praying that some of these scenes that were being shown were just the over dramatized NBA playoff commercials. And honestly, I think they were under dramatized for what actually happened in the movie. And to say I would rather have battery acid poured on my eyes than watch that again would be putting it, again, under dramatizing.
Let's put it this way: David watched
Fucking
the
love
movie.
having this guy on. We need to have
I-
this guy on more often. We need to have you on more often.
David made a post on Facebook earlier. I remember watching. He's like, "So watching Fast 9 made me want to sell my brand new Kia and then get Heelys and ride a bicycle for the rest of my life."
Yeah. So I said, Fast 9 had a very large impact on my life. I am going to be selling my Stinger, and I'm going to be using a pair of Heelys as my daily commuter.
Yep.
Because if I ever get behind the wheel of a car again, it's just going to be depressing. Like,
Yep.
this is where we've gone with this franchise. It's just...
It's just bad. Like, let's before we get into how bad Fast 9 is, let's say some good things, right?
Okay.
The Fast and the Furious franchise originally, like I believe, 1 through 5 was good. You know, I mean, Too Fast, Too Furious. We'll get into that when we go through our tiered list as well.
Oh, that's my favorite one.
Oh, dude, oh my God. Anyway, but it was good. there was a plot, there was an antagonist. It kind of took itself seriously. They were just street racers and just criminals and stuff like that. After Fast 5, it changed. That's when 6 and everything else came along. More Dwayne The Rock Johnson, more the fact that there were, less street racer criminals and they were being elevated to like agents and stuff like that. We'll get into that as well too. But like in the very beginning, Fast and the Furious was a pet project of I think it was Rob Cohen, I think, was the director of the first one, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a lot of really cool things about the background of the Fast and the Furious franchise itself. For example, Michelle Rodriguez and Jordan Brewster, Mia and Letty, they were underage and didn't even have their driver's permits when they were in that movie. It's like those small little things is something that still I keep close to my heart about this franchise. Just the small little things is hilarious. And then they're driving these really, really expensive fast cars when they're like 17 and stuff. It's crazy. They lied about their age to be on the film.
I agree, man. I mean, Fast. When we left the theater last night, I posed the question. We'll just kind of dive into it. I'll give you the play-by-play, right? So, new father, first time been to the theaters now that movies always come out on TV as of recent. First time we've gone to the theater. My mom came over to watch the baby. It was double date night. I was the only one that didn't want to see this movie at all. And, my wife kept waking me up in the movie, and I was actually angry at her for waking me up. Because I figured at least I could spend the money and catch up on sleep. And it legitimately angered me that she kept waking me up. But we leave the theater, and I posed the question of if people can think back to when the first Fast and the Furious came out, and then Too Fast, Too Furious came out. And the news was all over the fact that thousands of street racers were arrested, and it just gave you that vibe. It didn't matter if you had a Nissan Skyline or a freaking 99 Del Slow. You were leaving that theater and you were thinking like you were a street racer. Yeah. And it was so dope.
Yeah.
And something flipped, and it's like that I want that back. And I just, it's so disappointing that side of it's gone. But the first two for me will always be in my top 20 list of favorite movies. If it's on, I'm watching it. Right. And I'm enjoying it just like I did the first time I saw it.
Right. Yeah. I rewatched all of them leading up to Fast 9. And I left I remember driving up with Travis and Marshall in my car and driving up to the theater and stuff like that. Getting really excited. We were listening to the whole soundtrack from the Fast and Furious movies leading up to the movie. I got in my car, I literally turned that stuff on. I think I put on Black Bear or Benny Benassi or something like that. I was like, I'm done. I can't. This is just ruining it for me. This show, this movies. People are like, oh, it's Fast and Furious. It should have ended or it should never end. I'm like, no. It needs to stop after 10. Paul wanted 10. He wanted 10 Fast and Furious movies, and that's it. After 10, they should just stop the franchise. It's no longer the Fast family. It's just cars, big people driving cars and acting like they're their superhero counterparts from Marvel movies. Now, things that Vin Diesel was doing in this film.
Oh my God.
Physically impossible. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
It's not
happening. I'm going to hit this light post going 200, and it's going to ship me all the way from Arizona to California. Right. I'll make it alive. It's going to be awesome.
I'm going to hold back 15 SAS specifically trained, special forces people with my bare hands and grab these chains and bring down this whole 6 foot of concrete ceiling on them. Huh? Yeah. I can suspend my disbelief just a little bit. Everybody knows this. I hardly ever talk bad about Fast and the Furious, and I hate people that usually do. But I hated this movie, man. This was like a 1 out of 10 for me, Chris, and I hardly ever put that rating down. It was just that bad.
Wow. There's a scene I have to ask you what your opinion is.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, all right, it's going to hold a special spot for Nathan because he's a Charger fan. You had a previous Charger, right?
Yeah.
So, driving in the mountains, you see a tank, you see a souped-up Jeep, you see a dirt bike, and then a street racing purely for the track Charger driving in the mountains of South America, not built for off-roading at all.
Not at all.
And that's the vehicle that they were like, this is going to be the one to do all of these crazy stunts. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh God.
I was shaking my head. Travis was sitting next to me. He's like, this is so bad. I'm like, I know. He's like, no, that car would have flown off that hill. I'm like, I know. I had one. I know. It's not happening. Not only that, the fact that John Cena is driving like the brand new Mustang, which has worse torque control than the Charger, to be honest, if anybody's driven either of those cars. And he's outrunning the fucking Charger. And I'm like, this is not happening. This is not happening. It's not. This can't be true. And this is, by the way, Chris, this is the first action scene in the whole movie.
Oh God. Christ.
And let's not talk about the fact that Tyrese Gibson's got bullet holes in his shirt where he would have blood.
I was wondering if it was going to get brought up.
Like, I that almost made it good for me, David, when the car landed on him, and I'm like, oh crap, they killed off Roman. They killed Tyrese.
So I was so pumped.
I know. That kind of.
I was so upset that he did not die.
I know. I was like, I love that character, but at the same time, because he's the closest one to Paul's backstory, if you look at it. But like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh shit, that kind of, Chris, honestly, that won a little bit of the movie for me, and I was like, and then he walks out from behind it, and I'm like, oh, this is bullshit. I'm done with this movie already. I'm 5 minutes in.
Not get rid of him is because he was the comedy side of it that was saying everything that every single person was thinking.
Yeah.
I have 14 bullet holes. How am I not dead?
Yep.
How have we done this? And it's like every single person here is thinking the same thing. They're smart enough to like throw that in there. But like, come on, just, oh God.
It was so bad. It was really bad. It was, Chris, don't watch it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we talked. I mean, I'm not sorry we talked about Fast and the Furious because, I mean, it's our podcast. We should at some point. And the movie did come out.
Yeah.
But...
And it's $1 billion franchise. Like, it's Fast 7 grossed $1.5 billion. The Fate of the Furious is at $1.2 billion. Like, and so it's just ridiculous the amount of money that these films have made. And honestly, when they started being ridiculous is when they started to make a shit ton of money. Like it's very easy to read. You can see, Fast 5 had 6 million. 6 was 7.8, or I'm sorry, 788. And then you've got 1.5, 1.2, 759. Like the more ridiculous they get, the more people go out to see them. And I want to ask you guys, because we've all seen a shit ton of Marvel films and superhero films. Are these superhero films without superhero like abilities other than can seemingly not die and do whatever they want in a vehicle? Like, is that what?
In my opinion, I think David would agree. Like, the stuff that Vin Diesel was doing in this movie is not humanly possible. That's why I even made the comment where he's doing stuff that Groot could do. You know, like he's doing stuff that his Marvel fam can do. I'm like, he's tackling John Cena like off this building through a brick wall. I'm like, no. You got a concussion and at least some broken ribs.
Chris, to put it in perspective, and I actually started laughing in the theater, which just got everybody going. There were 2 scenes that I did, well, 3. One's gonna upset Nathan, but I will mention it.
Don't say it.
So
don't say.
I know what he's gonna say. Go ahead.
On point is Vin Diesel. A bridge collapses. Whatever. It's like a rickety old bridge. Dude's doing like again $160 on dirt in a Charger that's not built for dirt because that makes sense. Outrunning missiles and helicopters. Yeah. And somehow he sees just a little wooden post. That's all he could see. And in his mind, he was able to hit this just perfectly so that the wheel wrapped up the rope, which led to the bridge that, like, picture a bridge collapsing, it's hanging down a cliff. So ultimately he attached himself to a rope bridge and flew his car across an island and somehow landed perfectly as the car's flipping, all that, whatever, but not a single scratch on either of them. And then when it's all over, Letty goes, "You missed this life?" Or
oh my God.
comment, and they just like stare at each other like they're gonna start banging right there and then. And I'm so I start laughing. Everybody starts laughing in the theater. Yeah. And then since it's brought up, the other one is they make Brian just sound like a bitch. Like, his wife shows up and they're like, "Where's Brian?" She's like, "At home with the kids." And I'm just like, oh my God, they made him into a bitch in this. Like, at least just say, like, I don't know, anything else but that. Just felt terrible.
Like they're like an FBI. They're in an FBI headquarters, or like they're at a, you know. It's not like they're not secret agents at this point. They've been doing shit with Kurt Russell and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for like the last 3 movies. There's no point of them even saying that. That pissed me off.
Yeah.
So they say that he's watching the kids. So I screamed very loudly, "Someone call CPS! There's a ghost watching the children!" and that just set the whole theater off, just dying laughing. And then the last one was...
I promised myself I wasn't going to laugh.
The last one was when they mentioned, like, who's that guy? And it's like, that's his brother. And I was like, what? And the whole theater just started laughing.
Wait, he has a brother in the movie?
That's John Cena.
John Cena's his brother.
Dom.
Changed his
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
I thought you meant
David,
Ryan's brother.
This is something I wanted to do. Chris, when you think of Dom, you've seen the movies. You've seen at least the first one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen
So
them all
what
except for the
made
last one.
what made Dominic Toretto a criminal besides the fact that he's street racist? Now, what made him a criminal?
Well, in the beginning they were stealing shit and they were selling it off, and then I think even in
before that.
Which one?
Before that, like why was he in prison before that?
He beat some dude to death because his dad was killed in a race, and
Okay.
he clubs this dude.
So take that backstory and just neuter that, and now you have the new Dominic Toretto. Because basically, what I remember when I was a kid, what made Dominic Toretto very mysterious and tough, and continuing having that resolve of loving family and stuff like that, protecting those that are his, was the fact that his dad was in a race. The guy pit maneuvered, which in any street racing thing, that's illegal or anything like that. Either be in the circuit or in a quarter mile is an illegal move. And he pit maneuvers the guy, and his dad dies, right? And then weeks later, he sees the same guy that did that. He had a wrench, and his words, I quote, were, "I hit him, and I didn't intend to keep hitting him, but by the time I was done, I couldn't lift my arms."
Yeah.
Okay? In this now recent backstory, the guys they're at the track, the guy's trying to quote unquote pay his respects to his dad, which didn't make fucking sense in the writing.
Are we in a flashback right now?
Flashback. This is a flashback with the young Dominic Toretto and stuff like that too. His brother, who's John Cena, sees the guy, tries to tell him to leave, and they have like a little altercation. Dominic jumps in between his brother and this guy, says, go away, I got this. Turns to the guy, politely says, leave, you're disrespecting my dad and everything he stood for. And the guy goes on to say that his dad was going to try and throw the race and all this other stuff, and then hits Dom. So at this point, it's self-defense. It's no longer, I'm just hitting this guy because I fucking hate him. And then he hits him, and then, of course, we got another Marvel character in there. We got Buddy, who is the guy with the fin from another Marvel movie. I can't remember his name with the whistle. I can't remember his freaking name right now. You know what I'm talking about?
From The Walking Dead, too. What's his name's brother?
Yeah, Daryl's brother. Yeah, he's like holding Dominic back, but then they're like, okay, we're like, oh, well, by the way, this choreography makes no sense. Let's cut away, but we can still hear the wrench hitting something, even though I have both of his arms behind his back. They just neutered Dominic Toretto's backstory, and they just made him not cool anymore, or not dangerous like how he was, like his backstory. Like, in my opinion, he was more dangerous than Paul, who, by the way, is still an FBI agent, trained and stuff like that too. And now I'm like, Paul seems way more cool than you, because apparently you were held back by an old guy, and you really didn't fight this guy. You did it out of self-defense.
Well, and they made him the golden boy. Like, that was one of the comments the guy said beforehand, was like, to the younger brother, oh, you're the useless Toretto. And then Dom steps in and he goes, oh, the golden boy. And it was like they painted him to be like this, like, perfect everything, like this golden child who was going to be a pro racer and all this stuff. And it's like, it just didn't quite fit the original vibe surrounding this guy.
Yeah.
And then the other issue that I had in regards to it is anybody going to mention the fact that they should have just CGI'd a younger version of him instead of making him, like, I'm pretty sure the person that played him is a black guy, right?
I don't know. I didn't look into it. I was just so just turned off by this movie. I didn't really want to research too much into it.
That was the first thought I had, is like, is Dom black? I didn't know. I thought he was like an Italian Toretto, something like, and he's either Mexican or black. And then they even hint to it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spoil it because there's something that for people that care, it could spoil it. But like, she turns to his younger brother and is like, that chin's noticeable genetically. I always knew Torettos were mixed with so many things.
Nordic.
I never knew Nordic.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I need to get out of this movie.
Yeah. Not only that, they bronzed John Cena up the most I've ever seen. I just saw him in Cockblockers movie like a while back.
He's funny in Cockblockers.
He is,
That movie
but
was fantastic.
he is. But in Fast 9, But in Fast 9, he's got so much bronzer on him where he doesn't look white.
Well, I mean, they probably had to do that to match like Diesel's skin tone, and I
Right, Diesel's like the whitest of all.
They're opposites.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Even the younger version, it's the kid from Animal Kingdom.
Man, Peaky Blinders too.
Great show.
Yep, Peaky Blinders, and then their dad is played by the guy that is playing the lead character in the Mayans. The Sons of Anarchy spinoff.
Yeah.
Like the casting was just weird. And not only the fact, let's talk about the biggest plot hole in the whole movie that they made is that Letty, at the age of 15, was able to hack the LAPD's database and figure out that their dad was in debt and all this other stuff and where their brother was at. Okay, cool. That seems like a pretty interesting skill for Dom's crew and his family, that your sister can hack the police. You're just a hacker all of a sudden, and you can hack the police category. But let's think about that. Wasn't Connor an undercover cop in the LA? That you just destroyed the first OG movie that I have no problems with. I have no problems with.
Letty. It was what?
No, it was Mia. It was Mia. I didn't say Letty.
Yeah.
That's what I said. It was his sister.
Sorry, I thought you said Letty and then his sister.
You did say Letty.
Did I say Letty? I'm sorry. I meant Mia. No. Okay, you're right. You're right.
But 100%, I left the movie and that was the first thing I said is, let me get this straight. She was 16 and could hack into the FBI's mainframe, but they couldn't figure out that they were under investigation or that Brian O'Connor was going to be an undercover cop. Like, it was so shocking to them.
But I'm going to date him, take him out for drinks and stuff like that, and let my brother be around him. Tight.
Yeah.
Like, they just neutered a lot of stuff with this movie. It just pissed me off. Not to mention that people that have never been in space or have no interest, like, they even took, like, it was a really cool thing is that they brought back the original people that were in Tokyo Drift, which is also another one of my favorite movies from this franchise, which was like a whole duck out of water movie for this because it really didn't have any ties to the original one, because this is the first time we actually were introduced to Han in Tokyo Drift before we knew that he was a part of Toretto's crew, you know? And they took these people, by the way, high school mechanic, dropped out of high school in the first place. A streetwise kind of, mixer kind of guy, and then this Asian guy that's good with engines. But somehow they're able to develop a car that can go into space safely. What? What's the science in that?
Well, but that's just
Elon Musk has nothing on them.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is, and you can see these movies, and again, it's funny. You can make an argument that audiences are getting a lot dumber, and I don't want to say that dumb people see fast movies. I don't want to say that because my mom fucking loves them, right? There's a very specific audience that these movies are made for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think those people really don't care about the writing. Like, honestly, if you guys know what Dom's backstory is. I know what it is. I remember seeing, I'm so old, I saw Fast and Furious in the theaters with my first real girlfriend. She had all that stuff to me is very relevant and it stuck. And so people that are now writing Fast and Furious, Fast and Furious was released in 2001. Think about the shit that's changed and the writers that have changed. And
it's been 20 years, man. Last year was the 20-year anniversary of Fast and Furious.
Yeah, June 22nd actually. So what fucking day is this?
Today's the 27th.
So, yeah. So, 3 or 4 days ago. But my point is, like, you have to recruit people who want to make a young, fun, hip movie that people that are 10 years younger than us are gonna want to go see. And it's like,
oh shit,
dude. You know what I mean? They don't give a shit that the logistics of flying a plane in space. It's like, yo, this plane's in space. That's dope. It's like, dude, no, that's fucking, in no world will this ever work. And
Rodriguez is stopping by in the chat. Oh my gosh, what's up, Michael?
So I want to ask you, Chris, since you didn't see the movie, and I definitely want to get you involved a bit more. So I'm going to ask you something a little deep here.
Go for it. I'm ready.
You are given the opportunity, right? And it's one or the other. And I want you to be entirely honest, because it's a tough decision, honestly. Would you rather put together a slop of shit that earns $1 billion and has a lifeline where it does not matter what quality the writing is and the actual storyline, as long as there's bright lights and explosions, those people that are squirreling all over the freaking theater are going to stay focused on it and give you their hard-earned money? Or would you rather put together something like the first Fast and the Furious or the second that might not have grossed as much, but is just a classic that everybody loves, whether you're one of the squirrel people or you're one of the people that are super in depth with it. What if you had to choose, which one would you rather choose to do?
You know, I think that it would, for me, it's honestly, it depends on where you are in your career, because Drive is a good example with Ryan Gosling. So
that's a good example. Well done.
Right. So Drive is that film you're talking about. Like it's
Very much.
like, it's but it doesn't have a lot of flash and dash. I mean, but the scenes, Baby Driver, is more to like how this generation's original Fast and Furious is kind of meddled in with the more recent ones. But like, dude, if you're young, even if it's hard to bet against it. Like, if you know you're going to make, as a director or as a producer, if you're going to pocket $100 million, dude, that's what you do. And then you take 50 of that and you can make 2 Drives, or you can make a Baby Driver. So it's hard to say that. Plus,
if you don't get typecast as the director that does that kind of stuff.
Right. And David, to answer your question, I would say I'd probably take the $1 billion, bro,
right?
Because you can flip that into it. But I would say too that Universal knows that, and also Universal has made, I'm sure you guys know, that Diesel is one of the executive producers on that, and so is his sister.
Yeah.
Like one.
And most of them were since the number 4th movie.
But I mean, like, they have like clout where that's where a lot of the Rock and Jason Statham shit happened in the Fast franchise before they got their spinoff, because I guess there was an issue with that, and I guess Rock or Vin went to his sister, and she
Dwayne,
has the ears of Universal. Yeah, so. You know, but even then, Rock was he's a huge star. But again, whoever you are, if you're just an actor, and you know, there's an actor EP, and my sister's also an EP with Universal. Like, you can be a fucking huge actor, but you're still just an employee. Like Vinny, like Ari Gold says, you're a high paid employee, but you're still an employee, and you can be fired. So, you know, there's a lot there. Let me kick it back to you, David. Let me kick it back to you. What would you do, man? Would you make something would you make Fast 11 that lands on the moon? Or would you do like, you know, something a little more indie that's well respected amongst the peers?
So I feel like
it's a good question.
Way to realistically get a solid answer from it is you got one shot, right? It doesn't matter how great a success this movie is that I'm about to do. It's my one and only movie. Which am I taking? And it's hard to turn away from that money. But I can tell you, I would feel terrible afterwards as someone who's so intrigued with writing and am always dissecting movies for its realism, and anything that I write myself. Nathan knows this from experience. It doesn't matter if it's the smallest scene that literally audiences will not even pay attention to. It needs to be 100% legitimate, because if I'm writing about a pilot and a plane going down, I want a pilot to be in the audience going, yep, that's exactly how it would go down. True. If I'm writing about a soldier in the heat of battle, I want every soldier who's been in the heat of battle to go, yep, this is exactly how it goes down. I want full authenticity.
That Fast 5 was the reason why me and David started writing Avarice, was because of these movies.
It's hard to walk away from that money, right? So, I mean, I feel like I'd obviously take generational wealth, and I would just be absolutely embarrassed with how I got it. But, like, how do you walk away from that, right? Like you said, if there's more to come and it doesn't absolutely tarnish your career in the aspect of, I want to do something serious, and the actors I want involved and the producers I want involved aren't going to view me as, well, he's just a Jason Bay, something's going to end up exploding and this is pointless. Like, I'm not going to do a serious film with this person. As long as that doesn't happen, then I feel like you're golden, and you can put that money into something that's truly showcasing your abilities. But if you can't,
it's a great answer. It's a great answer.
What about you, Nate? You're next.
So here's the thing. I was interrupting, and that's my bad. So it's difficult because Justin Lin is the same director that did this. He's done 4 of the other Fast and Furious movies. No, Justin Lin. James Wan only.
James Wan's done one too.
No, I know, but I'm saying Justin Lin, the director of this one, has done 4 other ones. So obviously he's still making billions, right? He's still doing the movies and stuff like that too. And I remember watching an interview where he's like, Justin Lin does action not just for the sake of doing action. He does it for a purpose. I'm like, what was any of the purpose in this movie? That's a stupid answer in your interview, number one. Michael Bay is very similar. Michael Bay's been doing a lot of movies, and he's got these stupid giant explosions, girls, and stuff like that in cars, right? So it's a very good comparison to compare yourself to that director to this. I don't think I could bring myself to making a shitty movie that's going to make billions. That's just me. I think I'd make something like Drive. Drive's been like one of my favorite movies, you know? Or like you mentioned too, Baby Driver. I love both those movies, you know? I love both those movies over the last 2 Fast and the Furious movies I've seen. And it's just sad to see the way that this franchise is gone, started from and gone. It's just for the money now. It really doesn't really have the soul that it used to. I don't. There's nothing. You know, take a bite of a burger and it's like good. I can't watch these. I'm probably never gonna watch Fast 9 again. To be honest, I never will.
No, I slept through half the thing.
Yeah.
And was actually angry that I couldn't sleep through more of it. Like, let me kick a question to both of you.
Mm-hmm.
If, mind you, I love the rumored direction that Jurassic Park was heading, I loved it. I thought, man, there's so much you can do with it. And I feel like probably a connection that many people aren't going to make is people like the apocalyptic stuff, right? But people are really burnt out on zombies.
Mm-hmm.
I think just The Walking Dead is a perfect example of that. Like, I still watch the show, but I kind of force myself to do it. I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, I love the direction that they've gone with it, everything about it, but it's just I'm burnt out after so many years of it. So I felt like the new direction of bringing in like an apocalyptic movie with dinosaurs sounds stupid on paper, but like knowing what they could do with it sounds great. And then the rumors drop that it was not just a fake story, but genuinely Universal is talking about combining the two and having a Fast and Furious movie mixed with Jurassic Park crossover. And the first thought I had is it's going to be the one and only Jurassic Park I never see. Like, I will refuse to give my money to that because at this point it is purely a money play. And I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on it.
I didn't know that was out there. Is that going to be out? Because what is it, Lost World or Jurassic World's coming out? What is it next? It's not Jurassic World, something else.
The last one just pissed me off. I hated the last movie.
Yeah, but it made a fuck ton of money. Both of them did, and they're both obviously Universal IPs. That's a terrible combination. I will say I would definitely not see that. Do you guys remember when they were doing Men in Black and a 21 Jump Street crossover? They were talking about that.
Yeah.
Sony was going to do it.
Yeah.
I would have seen that way the fuck before I will ever see.
Because it's a comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's meant to be.
It's
funny.
meant to be funny.
Park and fucking Fast and Furious, but
yeah, it's meant to be funny. It's meant to not take itself too serious. I mean, Jonah Hill even makes like constant comments where he's like, "I thought that was gonna explode. It was supposed to explode." You know, like they do stuff where they make fun of it. Whereas you have Tyrese Gibson that's going on a 5-minute monologue. He's like, "I've got bullet holes." I'm like, "You got a bullet hole right here, bro, right above your heart. You should have been dead. There's no point. You're a gangster that drives cars from Barstow, California, and you took out 30 soldiers with one AK and one magazine. That AK magazine's got at least top 30 rounds in that magazine. There's at least 30 soldiers. You had to have hit every single soldier at least once to do that. It's like the logic behind the movie did not make sense, even when he wasn't even in a car, man. And that's the part that pissed me off.
No, that's why I wanted him dead, because his character, unpopular opinion, but I've never liked his character past the second Fast and Furious, because they tried too hard. They tried to plug in that humor, the stereotypical Universal trying to steal that humor that's in Marvel movies that like makes Marvel movies, and poorly execute and kill it. And it's like that friend that never says anything funny, but tries so damn hard that every time they speak, you're like, I feel dumber after that. Like, I'm laughing at you. Not at what you said, but I'm laughing at you for being that bad at being funny. And that's how Tyrese is for me, which is why when the car freaking fell on him, I was like, thank God they were reading my mind. Yep. And then he just walks around.
He walks out, and he's like, I thought you were supposed to be dead. And he's like, and walks away. I was like, you couldn't have put it in.
Back to the main question, Nate. Would you watch that movie?
Oh, the Jurassic Park one that you're talking about, or no? I'm over it. I'm not a big fan of the Jurassic Park ones anymore, man. It's just not. It doesn't have the same horror aspect the original ones had. The Velociraptors scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, with the tails in the grass and stuff like that too. It's not like that anymore. It's just like, hey, here's a cybernetic freaking dinosaur that really actually looks like we bred it in the lab and it's very CGI. Are you scared? No.
Yeah, no, I get that. I would say there has never been a scarier scene, at least for me, when I can't even remember which one it is, either the second or the third Jurassic Park, where they bring the T-Rex on the ship and it totally just mutilates everyone on board. The ship crashes, and then it's like walking downtown LA, drinking water from a pool, just like rolling down. Is the scariest scene for me as a kid watching Jurassic Park. And then I watched the new one and I'm like, wow, all right, this got rough.
Yeah.
This got rough.
And to answer Rodriguez's question in the chat, Justin Lin even wrote this one. So you can't even just blame it on the writer and the fact that he's just a director seeing this guy's vision. He wrote and directed it and produced it. There's no point. There's like, everybody's at fault for Fast 9. I'm sorry. It's just bad. You know what's funny though? Honestly, David, I actually liked John Cena. Is that weird?
So to be fair, and this is one of the areas where I can't give you my opinion because again, I slept through half of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we left the theater, I at first thought it was a joke when Kelsey and Andrew and Michelle were like, that was the best acting he's ever done. That was his hands down best performance that he's done in a movie. Mm-hmm. And I thought that they were cracking jokes about it. And they're like, no, I'm 100% serious.
Yeah.
He was actually very good in it.
John Cena was actually really good. I actually liked him. I believed him. Even when he was going up against some... They made Charlize Theron like way too over dramatized in this movie. She's like all mysterious and stuff.
So everybody's using it.
Oh, hey, Chris lifted the spoiler flag. I don't know, 15 minutes ago.
I did. It's whatever. Yeah, that's fine.
But no, it's like everybody knew she was in the freaking she's in the trailer too, so it's not that big of a spoiler. But you know, and she's got a scene with John Cena and stuff like that too. And John Cena is more believable than an Oscar-winning actress. You know?
Dude, that was the Nordic scene that I was mentioning earlier, Chris. She looks at him and goes, I knew you Torettos were a mixed breed, but that chin is very genetically noticeable. Nordic? And then he walks away and it's like...
I'm so glad he didn't even respond to that. He like gives her that look where it's like, why the hell did you say that line? And just walks away. And I'm just like, thank God. You know, less is more, Chris, you know, in acting. And so that was beautiful for me. I was just like, oh, God. Oh, man.
Right. The writing, man.
No, the writer and the director was the same guy. It was stupid.
Well,
Justin
I know.
Lin.
I'm not defending it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just to compound your point you said before, it's a sinking ship on all fronts.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it made $70 million this weekend.
Yeah.
$70 million. It's all overseas because they released it overseas first.
Yeah, it was over in China first.
$334 million.
Yeah, dude, that's why I don't think it's a sinking ship. I just think we're expecting when we pay for a cruise for it to be this luxury cruise liner, and instead it's a Motel 6 cruise that, like, what the hell? How is this thing even still floating? Mm-hmm. But it feeds the masses.
Right.
Not to disrespect the masses, but let's be real. Like, I feel like intelligence has dropped a bit. Common sense ain't common anymore.
A little bit.
So,
it's funny because we talked about who won what movie garnered what, Chris, and you were looking at the numbers as well too. Fast 7 was the first Fast and Furious movie to actually make $1 billion in the box office. You know, and that was the one where Paul Walker did. Well, because I believe Paul.
I wanted to ask Chris when he was bringing up earlier.
Paul Walker.
Look at the numbers.
Paul Walker.
All the good original ones didn't pull that money in. They pulled in money, obviously, or it wouldn't have been a successful franchise. But as they got unrealistic, it grew. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is as a filmmaker, Chris?
I don't think it's because of the movies themselves that they got really ridiculous. I think it's because Paul Walker passed away. Fast 7 was the one that Paul Walker passed away, and even then, the YouTube video itself, the music that was dedicated to him, "I'll See You Again," got 2.9 billion views in the first day.
Yeah, but so that's kind of the climax or the apex of that. But you could see the numbers climbing. I mean, after Tokyo Drift, which one did, and you guys know this, which one did Vin Diesel come back at? Because he left after the first one. He won
third, right?
He came back.
Or
Not,
fourth, technically. Tokyo
came back.
Drift was the third. So
Tokyo
fourth.
Drift was 3, fourth was the Fast and Furious. Yeah.
okay, so that's when it started to come back at.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came back worldwide, it was 363. The next one, which was Fast 5,
Mm-hmm.
that jumps 200%. That's at $626 million. 6 goes a little bit to 788, and then once Paul Walker passes and we're at 7, it jumps another 100%. So 6 had 788, 7 had 1.5 billion. So it literally doubled. But people love those characters, and people line up to see that story, and people loved Paul Walker's character as much as they love Vin Diesel's character. So that was part of it. And the Hobbs and Shaw one wasn't as well received. That's only around $800 million.
Yeah.
So
Which is funny because that's the only modern one that I actually enjoyed, because at least that one made sense why it would be action heroes, they're special agents, like then the stuff that they were showing and the action they show all of a sudden makes sense.
Right.
But you're going to tell me over 20 years that Dom, who was a very good street racer and a 100% great race car driver, magically could defy physics over 20 years of running from the law and just magically do all of these things with no training, no anything, is like, that's where I'm like, the direction they went with this cast is horrible. And if you really wanted to feed that, I guess, societal drive for just nonsense, then at least do it with Hobbs and Shaw. And I think that was kind of their intent. And I mean, it's still, the money it brought in was still insane, but
oh yeah.
And here's another qualm I have with film. Besides the unrealistic stuff that's glaringly obvious in this movie and the other movies as well too. Here's the problem that keep happening with these films, where they kill off characters, and they've done this more than once, and then they bring them back. Yeah. That part pisses me off more than anything, because you have Letty that died first, then she's dead, and then he comes back. Then Han dies in a horrible way, where you think Jason Statham was going to be a bad guy, and then they bring him back in this film. And then you have Giselle, you thought died. No word from our Wonder Woman. But Owen Shaw, his brother, Jason Statham's brother, you thought he died in the freaking plane, right? When he got thrown out in Fast 6? No. He's back again with Jason on the plane rescuing Vin Diesel's son in Fate and the Furious. So they do this with all the time.
And did you notice, and Han did it in this one, and that was another belly laugh moment for me in the theaters that everybody laughed at, was he obviously saves their lives, snipes the dude.
Yeah.
And then they're looking at him, and mind you, from the distance they were looking at him, they could not tell that it was him. Like, no human eye can identify that.
Right.
But there's this dark shadow, and then he moves the sniper away, and he gives this same, like, superhero, awkward, I'm looking at you, and now I'm gonna run away. The same thing that Letty did when she was found out to be alive. They give the same look, and it's like, oh my God, you make me literally want to peel my own eyeballs out of my head.
Here's a little funny thing, is that Michelle Rodriguez, who plays Letty, had no idea that her character was still alive. She saw it in theaters, saw the Easter egg at the film. She's like, oh wow, I'm alive? They had no idea. She had no idea her character was coming back in the films until she saw it at the end with The Rock.
Side note, did you know Letty in the original Fast and the Furious was supposed to be, I can't remember the exact story, it was either the love interest was going to be Brian and his sister, and Letty was just some girl in the crew that like didn't have a big part. And then the director loved her so much that they ended up writing in this huge, like reshooting parts of the film because the production had already started, and like added her back into the film and kind of grew her arc and made her a far more important person. Whereas originally she was just some person, a part of the crew, like couple lines. Obviously she'd help them, steal trucks or whatever. But I'm pretty sure they mentioned like she was supposed to die off or something. But the director loved her so much that he like stopped production. We're reshooting what we've shot. She needs to have her bigger arc. These two are going to be awesome. Which is crazy to think, like, if you're looking at just her success and fiscally what she's earned from this, like how insane that it was going to go one way and it literally changed her life just from just being, I guess, that great of an actress and super easy to work with, which I think kind of promotes, it should promote at least, people to be easier to work with in Hollywood that can literally change your life.
Right. Well, it's interesting because she was even dating Vin Diesel on the side during that production too. So I guess that made the love triangle kind of pretty easy on them in the very beginning, kind of thing. I put a question in the comments and stuff like that. So if anybody has their top 3 favorite cars from the franchise, please let me know. I'm curious because they have a lot of good looking cars in the movies as well too.
Can I get my one?
Of course you can. Yeah.
My one. And I swear to this day, I'm pretty sure you were part of the group chat, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have never owned a fast car before my last Stinger, and then I just traded in for the new one, and now it's like a whole new lifestyle. I love it. So, growing up watching the Fast and the Furious movies, the one car, there were actually 2, right? So the actual black Honda Civics that they used with the green underglow to rob the trucks, I wanted that to be my first car so bad. That didn't happen.
Right.
Then the second one that is my favorite of all time is Brian's silver and blue freaking Nissan Skyline from Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yep.
There is no more beautiful car in existence. It is the perfect vehicle. And so you were a part of the group chat when I was like, since seeing these movies as a kid, I've always wanted underglow. I feel like a total idiot being an adult, like actually contemplating doing this. So I need you guys to make sure that I'm not being stupid. Tell me I should not do this.
You know it's illegal, right?
Do not do it. And I was like, all right, good. Because 16-year-old David is like, you need to do this. And adult dad David's like, I will slap the shit out of you.
You know it's illegal to have that underglow in your car now.
Yeah, that's all right.
But no, definitely the 99 R34 Nissan Skyline was my favorite one too. Absolutely. But even more so than that, the original Toyota Supra Mark IV that he drove at the end of the original movie, still my favorite car.
Orange one?
Yeah. Yep, still my favorite car.
Over the Skyline?
Over the Skyline, man. It's the one that started it all, and they brought the Skyline back a bunch of times, but, gotta love it where it started. And that car and the Skyline, I would have loved to always see a race, and coincidentally, in Too Fast, Too Furious, there was a race between the Supra and the Skyline, because his Supra makes another appearance in that movie as well, too. Don't worry, I like the Skyline. My top 3 are his Chevelle SS in the 4th movie, the Skyline in that same movie as well too, and the Toyota Supra Mark IV.
Real quick, before we ask Chris his, quick story plot that I don't remember, but I feel like it went this way.
Okay.
The Charger, because that's what brings up the whole. Brian starts asking him the story because he unveils the Charger in the first one, and that's when he talks about his dad dying. Did his dad not die in that vehicle, according to the story?
According to the original story, yes, but in the movie, he's driving a freaking Chevy.
And the Charger's, like, in the background, kind of. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just a vehicle being worked on, like, right before he beats him. Dom is standing on top of the hood when he's looking at the race. Yeah, it's not even in the race. It's supposed to be in the race, but then he's driving a Chevy, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there in the theaters looking at Travis, and Travis is like, did they just? I'm like, yep. He's like, so that's not, nope. And he's like, yeah, because the whole storyline, if I remember correctly, was talking about how powerful this car is, and how his dad would do all this crazy stuff.
And he would die. He was in the car. It's a curse. This car, Mia calls this a curse. He talks to Ben, and Ben's like, yeah, he's probably right. It wasn't even in the backstory. I'm just sitting there looking at it. I'm like, that's a Chevy SS that he's driving right now.
Yeah. Come to think of it, it's 100% spot on, because that was the huge thing is like, oh my God, they just murdered his friend. He is a vehicle he's afraid to drive and openly says, like, I will never drive this vehicle. He is now behind the wheel going balls out at the end of this movie. Like, that's a huge part of the story arc of the fact of, like, he got pushed to that extent that he finally overcame his fear to get in the vehicle his dad died in. And then to end up wrecking it at the end is, like, poetic justice.
The only thing that I actually liked about in the movie, though, in Fast 9, was at the end, and spoiler alert, Chris, you're not going to watch it. Don't watch it.
Probably not, yeah.
Chat, if you watch it, cool. I mean, it's not, at the very end, everybody knows John Cena and Vin Diesel, they make up pretty much, in a way, right? And David, correct me if I'm wrong, he hands him the keys to that Charger, right? To John Cena, for John Cena to drive away. Because John Cena now was an agent and stuff like that, too, which makes sense why he could do all this stuff. I was actually okay. It was like passing the torch on. he gives the keys to his dad's Charger to John Cena, and even quotes Brian's like, a friend of mine gave me a 10-second car when I needed it most. My world was crashing down. Here, he gives the keys to his brother so his brother can take off. That was like the only cool scene of dialogue in the whole movie, in my opinion. I thought that was really cool, the way he passed on the Charger to his brother.
Which, again, story plot there. The Charger was wrecked and totaled on the side of the road as he was running from the cops. So how was he able to get back this Charger over the years of living in South America and all over the world? But that's okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna just move on and ask Chris, what are your favorite cars from the franchise?
Bro, I'm actually not, it's funny. There's not one that really stands out other than the Charger. And to me, it's funny when Dom always says, what does he say? American Muscle always beats something else. I forget the line. Nate, do you guys remember the line?
Yeah.
American Muscle tops something, right?
Imports.
Imports. So I always liked that. It was one of my dad's. He really liked that. So for me, that was always the car. That was always the car.
Yeah.
I
respect the hell out of that. Absolutely. I mean, the Challenger, even the Challenger in Too Fast, Too Furious, that RT that races up against Roman. Everybody thinks it's a Charger, and it's a Challenger RT, like old school '69 Challenger.
And a Camaro.
And a Camaro. Those things, that big block engine on those things. If anybody's ever driven in one of those,
favorite scenes still to this day when Rome rolls up and is and then the guy just like he's just like, you got nothing. You got nothing.
Yep. I'm like, I always looked at that. My dad. The first thing, the way I was introduced to Fast and the Furious when I was a kid, is it was my dad was watching it. I come into the room, and it's the scene where Dom and Brian are at the very end, and they're taking off. I remember Dom just revving the engine in the car, going, I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad, can that actually happen? He's like, you've never seen these movies? He's like, I'm like, no. He's like, this is the end. Hold on. He turned it off, went into his room, got the VHS tape, and put it in. He's like, we're watching it from the beginning. That's how I remember watching those movies. And did you know that actually Wahlberg and Eminem were actually in the lead by the studio to have Brian O'Connor's Rules? It's crazy.
No, really?
Yeah, Eminem was like considered for Connor, Brian O'Connor. It's crazy.
2000.
Think about how bad these movies would be.
Ooh, I have one for you guys that will Nathan. It might actually bring a tear to Nathan's eyes. So in the original, when he pulls out, because at the time, Paul Walker was. I mean, that's what made him. They pull out his ID, and that's where it gets mentioned that he's from Phoenix.
Tucson.
And that's his actual real ID.
This is Tucson ID.
It was Paul Walker's real ID.
Yeah.
That was in the movie because he's from Arizona.
It's actually Tucson though. To tell you the truth, David, I don't know if you knew that.
I thought it was Phoenix, bro.
No,
Are you sure about this?
I'm Tucson because even he's like, so you never get in trouble for boosting cars? He's like, no. He's like, really? Because I had well, I can't remember the guy's name. The first hacker kind of guy, his mechanic. He's like, I had him do a right up on you, buddy. Brian Earl Spillner. So you never were in juvie in Tucson for boosting cars? He's like, yep. He's like, yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, the movie. But I'm saying like real Paul Walker's from Phoenix.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yes. But Paul Walker, yes. He was born and raised in Phoenix. Yep.
And they literally used his ID. And if I remember correctly, they either CGI'd the name or it's like one of the wallets, like with mine, it blocks off portions and you can just kind of see the picture in the state.
Yeah.
And that was how his wallet was. But I thought it was the craziest thing that you come to find out that's like his real ID. He's from Arizona.
Yeah.
He's like the coolest character on earth as a kid.
It made me, as a kid, going to street meets out on Colossal Cave Road. If you're an OG street racer in Tucson, Arizona, you know Colossal Cave Road was the original road that everybody went to. That was the first place. It wasn't near the Amazon workshop or anything like that. It wasn't down by Old Vale Road and Rita Ranch. So Colossal Cave Road, early 2003, 2004, and the fact that Paul Walker his character was from Arizona, even Tucson, made me even more connected to these films than originally, and it's probably one of the things that I still miss so much about that character.
Well, let me ask you guys: when did they start becoming ridiculous for you? Like, when did they? So, like, you know what I mean? So when do you start calling bullshit? Like, nah, this is.
I refuse to watch Tokyo Drift, so I still to this day have not seen Tokyo Drift.
Why?
And I think they started to get because it was a straight to VHS. It wasn't like I was so in love with that cast and the vibe that they were going for, and drifting just didn't seem like I wanted the street race, not the drifting side of it. And again, I might be entirely off. It could have all been about street racing, but at the time, it just didn't. I had no desire whatsoever. More recently, I saw on Facebook there was like a 6-minute clip of when he races the guy in I think a Viper through new construction and beats the guy.
Yeah.
That scene actually makes me want to see it, so I'm open to seeing it now.
That's the first scene in the movie. Actually, Tokyo Drift's not bad, dude. Honestly, the stuff that happens in Tokyo Drift is very believable. It's more believable in those races than most of the other ones.
Bullshit. I just can't vouch for that one.
Mm-hmm.
But where it started to a little bit more was when Dom comes back. It's Mexico, so I think that was the fourth one. Where letting all of them come back, and it's kind of no longer about street racing, and instead about like drug running or doing this with cars. And all of a sudden, that's where it started to get a little bit iffy. Like 1 and 2 are really the only ones for me that hold that realistic value, if you will, where if they still did movies like that, I'd be on board all day long. So that's my answer.
Nice. What about you, Nate? Nate, you there? All right. David.
Yep.
I think the big part of Tokyo Drift for me too was that like I just didn't want to see a movie that didn't have those characters.
Yep.
Like, you lose Vin Diesel in the second one, but you still have Paul Walker, and Tyrese is good in the second one. I mean I don't hate him, but he's just, but in the third one I didn't want to have to learn a whole new set of characters, and for me that's why I didn't see it either. I haven't seen it at all, and I probably won't.
Give it Tokyo Drift a chance, because the actual OG Fast and Furious people that would go back and rewatch the movies have even said how good that movie actually is. So actually, since we're talking about the movies and everything like that, why don't we just go ahead and do our tiered list? Let me go ahead and